think Jennifer has this on the agenda specifically. So before Ben gets here, we'll maybe go over this. I think I had a copy for Ben. I may take your bag, Wayne. All right. Do that one, Ben. Make sure I'll give it to you. I'm gonna leave. You can have it back. This is, as you may or may not know, the town receives power projections. Okay? And we get those, we received this in February. Okay? These are not the final rates. The final rates will come at the end of May, but no later than the 1st of June. That's why we're always so daggone late adopting our budget, because we have to wait for these final utility rates. And this is specific only to electric. Okay? If you will look at a couple items, if you look at the front page for the actual cost, this will be for fiscal year, and you can see this is kind of dated. This is only through December, what they gave us. But look at fuel adjustment charge on the front. And go over the far right side, and you can see we've printed you the VEMA charges, not the Blackstone charges. I apologize. These are for the whole group. Okay? But I'll get you the Blackstone charges. But what you can see for the whole group, it was $11 million, $11,900,000, and that's for the whole VEMA group. And if you come to the following year and look under generation fuel adjustment charge,
Do that. Same.
it's approximately the same. There's not a big difference. If anything, it goes down a little bit.
Tad bit.
Okay, so I think your fuel adjustment's gonna come down a little bit. If you read the Blackstone charts, and I apologize, I printed the wrong thing, this is for the whole group. For Blackstone, Wayman's got Blackstone, I printed those for him earlier today. So Wayman's the only guy that's got the correct figure.
Mr.
Again,
Mitchell, come on.
if you don't mind, that'd be great.
What's the, if you look at the bottom where it says percent of change, so originally we had heard 11% last year. And this is only showing, do you have to add the two together?
No, that's just for the VEMA group. For Blackstone,
Oh, okay, so
we
you're
have a
saying
separate for
different.
Blackstone, it turned out to be, well, I can't say it's turned out to
It was
be.
9.9 or something.
The trend through December was a percentage
Okay, and I
less.
remember that, that's why when I saw 4.8, I was like, hold on, it's gone down even more than.
We thought 11.3% last year when we did the budget. We finally, that was the figure they'd given us. Through 6 months of this current fiscal year, through December of this current fiscal year, that number is actually 9.9%. So it's almost 1.5% less. Okay?
All right, so just say if we were, I've been retroactive, say if way back, say last year during the budget process, we had the figure of 11.3%.
Mhm.
Well, we passed that on. Say if we passed that on, we'd be in the hole then, correct? Because we would pass through more than what we're actually getting, correct?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to fall back to this 9.9%, which could still be lower. Through 6 months, it had trended at 9.9.
Once we got our rate, it stayed, the whole year, it stayed that percentage.
If it stayed 9.9,
Yeah.
and
Or we were given 11.3 as the projection, that it would stay 11.3.
it doesn't apparently work that way. Apparently,
Projection is now 9.1,
9.9.
9.9 with the possibility of it lower.
Or going up, one. It could go either direction, but through December is 9.9. It could go up or it could go down still. It's trending down, but that may not be the final.
So 9.9 started when?
Through December. That is the actual decrease through the month, and that's, if you look at the yellow, that says actual, not projected, okay, for this current fiscal year. Okay. But
I just find it interesting that, I mean, it's hard to budget something
you don't know. That's why when you're
and it changes halfway through the
when you
year.
cut it very fine, then you cut it very
Yeah.
fine. You got to make it up in the next year. But how do you absorb the potential 1 or 2% losses?
Correct.
That's where cash comes in, that you can absorb it for things like budget billing and all those kinds of things. If you're off, that gives you the cash flow to solve the problem until the next fiscal year, the next budget. If you look at the next year, and she's making you copies of all this. I sent Justin over to SWCI, so. If you look at this, and she's getting ready to hand out correct copies. Does that say Blackstone on the top one?
Yes, here you go.
Sorry about that,
There's
guys.
your 9.9 figure.
Yeah, that should be for the Blackstone.
And then, so next year it's
This coming year is the one,
0.7.
it has a 0.7% increase in electric rates, not including fuel adjustment. If you factor in the slight decrease in fuel adjustment that we saw, you see actually the total bill going down just a tiny bit. Okay? And remember, fuel adjustment adjusts, I think in the next month or so, they'll send us the new rates. Okay? And they will apply to the first full month of the new rate. Okay? These are the projections, the January projections, which will likely change in June.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really the last thing that we've got figured in the budget. We can get everything else prepared and ready.
I mean, we know a rough, I mean, but it's not gonna go from, right here it shows a 0.7 increase. It's not gonna be a 7% increase.
I don't think it's gonna be radically different.
Yeah,
But I think it could change 1%,
Oh,
2%. You can see so far,
but it gives you the rough idea.
gives you within a couple percentage points, I think. All right. So heads up, everybody's got a copy of this now, and sadly, you've also got a
Anybody
FEMA
call
copy.
in?
Field told me she knew he was coming, because I mean, literally got off the phone with her right when I was
Well,
walking in. And I don't have a text or anything from him saying he's not coming.
Can we go follow up?
You can get the reception working here. You can try on that. You can go back to, he should be under green. So this is the base from where we start the budget, okay? And the base from where we start that 9.9%.
Ben said he's coming. I just texted
Oh,
him.
you did, okay.
So these are the same charts and graphs that we've been using the past few years. Okay. But I do think you're gonna see a decrease, which would benefit the consumer here in the next few months on fuel adjustment. Because it appears fuel adjustment is gonna be going down, not appreciably.
Where's the fuel adjustment line?
That's
Down here, right?
If you look at fuel adjustment, generation fuel adjustment charge, and you look, they're expecting this current year to be 328,000. And next year, generation fuel adjustment charge, they're looking at it 308, so.
And that's a direct pass-through now, right,
direct
on their
pass-through,
bill?
that's right. So there'll be a slight decrease based on these figures in the fuel adjustment charge, starting, I believe, in April.
but that's not a big difference.
Pretty small, yeah, maybe 1% or 2. Actually, less than 1%, I suspect. My kids want to know when I'm coming home, I'm sure.
It's snowing.
Yeah, Dad, when you coming back? So, that is what VEMA has sent to us, okay? It's actually prepared by the consultant that works on VEMA's behalf, and it is subject to change, but I think that can give you a basis for what our electric rates. And remember, out of a $15-16 million budget, 4 million of it plus is electric. So we're talking 25% of your total budget is based on the electric charges. All right? Last time I really looked closely, and remember, our budget this year is a little atypical because we have the $2 million construction project in it, which took it up to $6 million. Logically, we would have a smaller budget. We may have to include some of that again. We need to get this stuff done in an hour, so I'm gonna proceed if it's okay with you guys.
Yeah. Ben said he's leaving his house now. He thought it was at 3 o'clock,
Okay.
but he's coming.
We good? VRA spring financing. Spring financing, and if you're not familiar, the Virginia Resource Authority does 3 bond issuances a year, municipal bond. Okay? Where we get on board with a bunch of other towns and cities and counties, and we all put our buying power together, and they price it once the application is made. Okay? East End, it is my preference not to do that with the East End project because I think we can pay it off quicker. Remember, they've got the 10-year, no payback and all those kinds of things. So the reason we went to Citizens Bank and Benchmark and BB&T early on is we
But you
want
could pay back.
we want that early payback ability, okay? No penalty for early payback. I think that the town council can still privately issue this on any sets of terms that they want, and they can do it locally if they want. It is my recommendation, though, because I do think the dollar figures are going to be more than $1.1 million. Okay. We talked about it at the last council meeting. The $1.1 million is committed by council to do the water and sewer, irregardless if we get any grant money or anything like that. Okay. In order to have two activities in this grant application, because the water and sewer is town now, and for them to have the second activity, so it's a comprehensive grant, up to $1.25 million, we have to have a second activity. Town's doing water and sewer. So what we've asked them to do is pay for drainage, curb and gutter, and some piping and drop inlets and all that kind of stuff down there. I think the number is going to be significantly more than 1.1 million. In fact, I have our PER, and I can make copies of that as well. Hey, Josh, would you make some copies for us, just of this one page?
Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill, how you
So my suggestions to you guys is not necessarily to go to the VRA spring bond, because it's very restrictive. You shall borrow for 20 years, you shall pay a certain rate, you shall not pay back at a certain time and all that. And there is no interest-only provisions. My recommendation to you guys is still go out on a private deal, private issuance, but I do think you need to use Roland Cooch for this matter. And I think there's a letter in there. I know you roll your eyes, but I think you're going to save a whole lot more money than what you suspect you will by not paying Roland. I don't know necessarily if we'll need bond counsel. I anticipate we may not, but I think you need to have Roland handle this for you. I think there's been a lot of unpleasantry exchanged over this, and I think he can issue it locally. I think he can issue it nationwide, but I do think the potential for a 20-year note or a multi-year note could be in the tens of thousands of dollars of saved interest if you were to do this. I really do think you need to have Davenport and Company for $10,000 handle this. Plus, the number is higher than $1.1 million. The $1.1 million is what council had committed to for the construction of water and sewer in the neighborhood, irregardless. Got to be done. The additional cost for drainage that you'll get here in a few minutes from Josh, I think is the second activity that we need to contribute into that project. And I think that's going to raise the cost of the project, not substantially, but significantly. All right?
So you think we can, and you're saying he'll cost
10 grand.
10 grand, you think we can save that 10 grand in,
Interest?
yeah?
Oh, yeah, sure. But he's going to give you a fair third-party observation of where the best place to borrow the money. He can start locally, absolutely. I think that was the intention of council.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing, is local is obviously what everybody wants to hear in their ears nowadays.
I understand. That's why I'm asking for a third party, because I do not think anything that I or this body or this finance committee can do is going to salve that uneasy feeling.
I mean, it'd be nice if there was, I know it's, can't do it, but it'd be nice if there was a guarantee clause saying that he can guarantee that he can save you the.
Oh, I think he can. I don't know if he can without a national search like they typically do. But I do think he can find it less expensively than the VRA perhaps. But private lendings now are starting to increase in cost. When I say cost, the interest rates are getting higher and higher. And that makes the the last couple times we haven't used VRAs because VRA, in his opinion, was more expensive than using a bank. And I think we've borrowed money at 2% and 2.4% as opposed to the 3% that he was expecting for the Virginia Resource Authority.
All right, I came in a little late, I'm sorry for that. So what's your discussion about the VRA? What's the,
VRA is a governmental lending agency.
yeah, I know all that.
We received a cost estimate that I had asked Roland to provide to us. I think council's intention is to put this out privately. It's my preference to put it out privately. It gives us more flexibility on the terms. I think they're the same terms that we had discussed previously with Citizens and with Benchmark. Put it in writing, but I think that we need to use Roland for this procurement process.
Okay, you mentioned $10,000. I'm looking at this email, it's a total of 25.
I'm not asking you to commit yourself to a bond counsel because we don't know if we'll need one.
But so if Roland finds you a good deal with
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi State Lending Company, you're gonna have to hire a bond counsel then?
Maybe not. It depends on how he structures the deal. If we buy it locally, I don't think we're gonna have to have a bond counsel.
My main concern is, say, all right, he costs 10 grand, he saves us 11 grand in interest. Well, you're still not ultimately saving but $1,000. So is it worth not going locally? So if
No. We're not saying not go locally. We intend for a
Oh,
local
yeah, we'd love
lender
to.
to do it.
But what's the likelihood, I mean, to be honest, of being local once we go national like that?
Well, I think the instruction to Roland is to work with the 3 local banks, and if he can't find satisfaction with the rates that are provided, or his recommendation is not to use those rates, and it'll be third party. I won't guide him. You guys won't guide him. He'll use his best professional opinion based off a series of criteria that the committee issues, and let him do it with the 3 local banks. I think he's meeting procurement at that point. And if his recommendation is, wait, this is good or this is not good, and then
Once you start talking figures, say $10,000 or $20,000 in excess of what we're paying him that we're saving,
Mhm.
again, hey, you're talking that you,
well, I think if you look at these things, we're in a almost $2 million range
yeah, you can
over
save-
20 years. Yeah, you can save a bunch of money if you think about it.
I sort of have an idea what you're saying. Number one, it's been some indigestion up here and about being fair, and we don't have to worry about it.
I mean, that was the issue, though. It wasn't done to the satisfaction of the local guys.
Right, so you're talking about a third-party transaction, arm's length transaction.
Arm's
where-
length.
Yeah, so I understand that. It's just $10,000 a lot of money to my constituents, you know?
I don't think it's
So-
that much money when you consider if we can find lower rates, significantly lower rates, and let him do what he's good at. I think it'll be a very small amount of money. In fact, I think you also need him to take a look at that 3% that you guys have raised, right? That was based on $1.1 million. If we,
3% wasn't, excuse me?
there was a 3% increase to the utility rates, like water and sewer,
Right.
last year, and we've saved that money, we've set it aside, we haven't spent it, intended for this East End project. He needs to tell you that's enough, okay?
Well, I don't mind telling you, no council member would not appreciate him being the bad guy with the rates.
Well, I think he's gonna come back and say 3% may be light. But this is the same kind of project we've done in multiple other neighborhoods in town, and you may not even need it. We could get turned down for the drainage, and then you're back to the 1.1,
Right.
quite frankly.
Okay, well, I mean, can you understand do you understand the anxiety about it? I mean, is it normal to have a little bit of, like, what the heck?
Now, I think that if you look in the long term, I think this makes obvious sense. On the short term, yeah, and somebody's going to criticize you or I because you spent $10,000. I think that $10,000 on a $1.5 or $1.6 million borrowing is a drop in the bucket.
That's why, is there a guarantee clause or anything that could guarantee that we'll at least save enough to pay for his $10,000?
I don't think he can do that, but I think he can certainly. Give you the best deal that's possible out there.
Well, you
Now-
can roll up in there in Davenport and give them $1 million and say, I want a 4% return,
Yeah.
and there's no guarantee.
Correct.
You know, so they're not in the guarantee business. They're in the fee collecting business.
That's my recommendation is to
All right,
is
what
to
do you-
use
Mr.
Roland.
Moncur, you've been real quiet. What's on your mind down there?
I'm doing a lot of listening.
Well, that's not helping me any. You looking for us,
I tend to go with, Philip.
Mr. Nash, what's your position?
If we can be pretty certain that we can say, that it will pay for itself, is what I'm,
Oh, it'll pay for itself. I don't think there's any doubt. But you also got to be understand if you want the guarantee, you've got to turn him loose too to get bids. And just having 1 or 2 proposals is
I think
probably
the
not that.
risk of his fees being off of the $10,000 mark are more than offset by the fact that we're out of the spotlight on, do we do local business and are we doing this? It's arm's length.
this isn't something new, I mean, we've done this all the time, correct?
All right, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. I understand what everybody's saying. I just want to ask some stupid questions. Well, I've still got 3 months to ask stupid questions. So, is it possible
Mhm.
that we could have one round That we sit down and we say, these are the conditions.
Absolutely. I think the council's intention is to do it locally, right?
Okay.
You got three banks and turn one and loose with that, and then he'll come back and make a recommendation. Yeah, we got a winner here, or I think there is a better deal out there. But fall in with the spirit of what the council wants to do, which is,
So you're saying first,
yeah.
in his 10,000 price, he can go 2 different rounds. First round, he can try local.
It's 15 for Davenport and it's 10 for McGuire.
Excuse me, I've got it backwards. So it's 15 and 10. I apologize.
So it just I'm just asking. It just bugs me that we can't sit down here, have a work session, and write down exactly what we want and present it to the three banks, and then council has.
How much are you going to recommend raising rates?
I have no idea. I mean,
Exactly. That's the point, exactly.
I can tell you that I know you're savvy enough mathematically and fiscally to come up with it.
I'm pretty sure I know what we need to do, but
Now, are you saying whether or not that'll be trusted by the constituents and by the councils?
I don't know. Haven't been in the past. I don't know if it will be in the
$15,000 is a lot
future.
of money, man. $15,000 is a lot of money.
Yep.
So, I mean, I understand that you want it done neat and in order, as Jerry Clower would say, but I just can't help it. There's some indigestion about $15,000 to do what we might be able to do ourselves. But I want to. Are you looking for a recommendation to council?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to move
We want
forward.
to settle this. I mean, what? So, I'm hearing Sam say you ready to go with it. And I'm on the fence.
I'm very much on the fence.
Okay.
I mean, not that I don't trust Philip's suggestion. I don't know. I'm almost leaning towards. I think it needs to be the 7 of us that actually. I mean, it's a pretty.
Well, we need to make a recommendation one way or another.
Well, we can make a recommendation,
I
and
think the beauty of what I see in this is that we're out of the spotlight on this local choice thing where we have, for one reason or another, sustained a black eye to it. Caused some indigestion, hard feelings. And we've done all of this for the right reasons. Now, if the gain is small and the loss is rather small difference, I say, let's go with them, because what are you gonna do? If you don't like your locals, you're gonna say, we're gonna go.
these are all great points, Mr. Moncur. My problem is,
But what are you gonna do if we don't like the locals and Davenport can't get us better, substantially better,
And you stop.
than what, we were offered local? You can't go back after that and go local.
well, I guess I would feel
That's the same way
better.
as picking bids.
I guess I would feel much better if you told me to engage your services for $5,000 to try to get us a local deal that he thought was reasonable, because he can pick up the phone and get 3 or 4 quotes, and make $5,000 by doing it. And then if he had to go further, it was an additional $5,000, or you know what I'm saying? But $15,000 to sit down and maybe have 8 or 9 different caveats on what you're gonna do. You know, like no prepayment penalty, what day of the month. I mean, it's just so many. It's so much to this equation. There's not so much to it. I mean, so it bugs me to pay $15,000 for someone to write up a request that is just he should be able to sit down and do in 30 minutes. Does that make sense?
I don't think this committee or I can do it in 30
I
minutes.
said he should be able to do it in 30 minutes.
I think he can.
Local-
Right.
local.
I don't know about 30 minutes, but I think he can put the deal
Well,
together.
it's not a laborious task. It's not a Herculean request of us. So $15,000 to seek bids from 3 local banks, I'm sorry, it's preposterous.
I wouldn't use that term. I think it's in market price. I don't think he's looked at other
Well, I
prices, so I don't know what you know what to compare it to.
With that being said, I think the engineering fees and some of the other things are preposterous. So
You what?
I think the engineering fees that the towns pay, these fees that we have to pay dealing with professionals are all preposterous. So this isn't just aimed at Mr. Cooch.
Okay.
But I mean, you got people here. The majority of the people we have in this market make less than $15 an hour. That's a lot of money. That's a tremendous amount of money. That's 1,000 hours of work. So when I sit here and say that somebody could sit there and do this work in less than a day, opposed to my constituents working 40 weeks, I have to give it a lot of thought. But anyway, I do like the idea. I think there's some market value in the fact that we have the arm length transaction, and we don't have to mediate between banking or financial institutions. And obviously, feelings became part of the quotient, and so you got to deal with that. I mean, if we could just put out a bid and say we want $1 million for 10 years at what rate, no prepayment penalty, blah, yeah. But that doesn't seem like that's possible.
Not possible.
No,
Okay.
because everybody's gonna always
Mhm.
say, well, I got this one thing that's a little bit better, so
Right.
let's go this way. Or,
I think you know what to do,
Any
and if I can get it done cheaper, I'll get it done cheaper, but you know what needs to be done, and this body and I are not the solution to do this,
Well,
okay?
I'm
Because
not
no matter
gonna-
what we do is gonna be unacceptable.
Well, I was sitting here gasping for breath when you said 10, and then I got to reading it, and I really I'm about to go in cardiac arrest. 15,000 bucks. And Roland's, he's tough, man. He's smart.
He's
I
perfect.
understand. He's worth it, but
Worth every penny.
can you look and see if he could give us a two-tiered price? He give us a price of handling it from start to finish locally, and then if we had to go further, how do y'all feel about that?
yeah, I mean, it makes more sense.
How do you feel about it, Mr. Montecure?
I could go with that.
All right, well,
But
then
we
I-
need to understand that this is the direction we need to go,
Do you,
okay?
do you think you can get a price? But the council meets next Monday. Is that correct?
Here's what's gonna happen. We can get the initial cost down, but the long-term costs are gonna still be $15,000. I do that with engineers all the time. You walk with us, you take the risk, and then his fees will come in later.
Well, that doesn't. I mean, I have a hard time paying $15,000 to write a letter requesting these three banks give me.
I don't think it's just a letter, Ben. We've used him twice, and you know what he does. He does the full calculations, the full determination of whether or not the rates are appropriate, and the rates will cover the project.
Well,
You
you
know
give
that.
me a $15,000 check to do a car deal, and I can make it fancy as you want. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but at the end of the day, you want four wheels and something that starts when you want it to.
I'm
So,
giving you my best recommendation, and if I can get the fees down, great. However you want to do it, but I think Davenport needs to handle this transaction in future transactions. I think the days of going down and sitting down and having a cup of coffee and talking about stuff are over.
well, I understand that.
Okay,
I understand
that doesn't happen anymore.
No, I understand that. What,
Sadly.
where y'all stand with this?
So you're saying 15 grand, he'll want up front, correct?
It sounds like you're gonna pay the $15,000 sooner or later.
I
think
think
it-
it's
I think-
tacked on to the loan amount.
Yeah, you don't pay him anything. You add it to the $1 million that you borrow.
Which
If you
technically-
borrow it.
Yeah.
If you don't borrow it, it's a whole different show.
Well, that would make a case for taking it out of the reserve account for $25,000. I mean, we're getting 1.95%.
Guys, listen, we borrowed the money to go down here to work on the wastewater plant. Didn't bat an eye using Davenport, right? We paid their full amount of fees, which were more than $15,000. Didn't bat an eye. Now we're on East End, and now we're batting an eye. It is the correct way to do this. It truly is, okay?
All right, well, listen, I have no
We-
reason,
I
I have no
need-
reason to doubt you about.
If I can get the fees lower, I will do so, and maybe we can get them to $10,000 or $12,000 or whatever it is. But Davenport needs to assist with the rate structure, and they need to assist. I have an idea, and mine would work, I know. But I think for everybody to believe me, I gave a cost estimate to renovate the Armory one time, and it was preposterous. And it turned out to be almost exactly what the
That's my word.
architecture is.
That's my word of the day.
Almost
Well,
exactly what the
let me
architects had come up
Let
with.
me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you just a second. All right, I want to make 2 points. Number one, in my 4 years working with you, you've never led us or the town wrong, and things that you're passionate about usually you got your ducks in a row. So, with that being said, the two points I want to make is you're not adamant with me. You're respectful. But you're
trying
firm.
not to be ugly,
You're
yeah.
firm. Your opinion's firm. All right. And number two, you don't usually come to us and say this is the way it needs to be done, unless it's not the way.
I do think the local is the intention, or at least exhausting the 3 local banks is the intention of council. I don't think that was misunderstood. I think that's clear to do that. And I think Roland needs to give us a recommendation. Yeah, this is a good deal. This is better than what we're seeing in market, or this is market price. I think that's absolutely, and if he can do that for a pittance of money or something less, but if he comes back and says,
The market price is less than that.
it could be less. And Roland could come back and say, guys, I don't recommend accepting these simply because I believe we can go further.
Well, I still like the two-tier thing. Do y'all like the two-tier thing?
Yeah, but how do you work? I mean, that's-
Well, I think we
Get
have
Roland.
someone can do that, can work with Roland. I don't really care, but I would make a motion that we recommend to council that we engage the services of Roland Cooch.
Without a dollar figure.
Well, with a two-tier program, local only, and then local plus national, or whatever, outside.
If recommended by Davenport to go back out.
Right.
Now, if he thinks that in this market, he's got a really good deal, then he needs to tell us. Or if he comes back and says, VRA is your deal, man, this is what you need to do, because the rates are far below your market prices, then let him tell us that too. But we need to get on with it if we're gonna do a summer or spring bond sale.
I make the motion, is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Go to the council with it, okay? All right.
Moving back forward. Credit card policy.
It just took me a few minutes for to soak in, but I mean, honestly, your track record's pretty good. You're asking us to make an investment here, so I'm good with it, okay? All right. But don't be upset with me, but I feel like I'm doing my due diligence to want these questions answered.
I need Roland's help on this.
You got it.
Not just because of the previous bidding, but because this is more complex now than it was to start with. It was just a good old boy $1,000,000. Now it's more than that, appreciably more than that. The 3%, I don't think is necessarily the final figure again. Credit card, you wanna make a presentation?
You wanna do it?
Anyone do it? Y'all know our treasurer.
No, I never seen a lady in my
Is
life.
that our treasurer?
Okay, so bad checks, we do a $35 fee. And now the new policy is 2 checks within a 2-year period. You cannot write any more checks. You have to be a cash or a money order customer. So the past couple months, we've been having chargebacks on credit cards where someone will come in or pay online with a credit card, and then a few months later,
They disputed on
the
that.
card holder will dispute it. Not the person who paid it, but it's actually someone else's name on the
It can be
card.
that long ago?
Yeah, we just got one for December.
So I can give my card to my wife and she come pay, and then I can dispute it.
Right, then you can call your bank and say,
I mean, I don't want to tell too many people.
I didn't know it was
Yeah.
that long. I knew you had a couple of them. I didn't know they were
we
that
just had
long.
one from December a couple weeks ago.
This is the ordinance you're proposing, and this will take care of all that?
Right.
Question. What would be the ramifications if we passed a policy that said only the named person on the card holder could pay that bill?
The only problem with that is people can pay the bill online, so we have no control over that.
Control is
We have
the-
no control whatsoever.
be
They can go on their cell phone and pay it
Layman's
tonight.
card, but Joe
Well,
Blow
like you
in
said,
Maryland
you
could be.
You could give your wife your card to
Yeah.
go pay something. I
Right.
think it's taken her a lot of time to research and figure out who's billing, and we can't charge this bad fee, and that's the point of the bad fee for the check, because it takes time to research and figure out who it is, and then we do get a fee from the bank for a bad charge, which we are passing that through, but it's a very lengthy process.
I mean, if they're writing, if they're having chargebacks, are the lights staying on?
So, usually, I've been doing, yes, they do. Usually I do the same thing as a return check. I will write a letter, you have noon until tomorrow to pay this or your lights will be disconnected.
Okay.
But just
And
recently.
what is your response typically with that?
They come pay it
Okay.
with cash or money order, and I don't accept checks or credit card for that.
Right.
But recently we had a stolen card. All the other ones were just disputed. She didn't need to use my card as a family member. But recently we had a stolen card. With that, we cut the lights off automatically
Correct. Which is
because it's like
understandable.
right.
That's
But another problem with it is, so this week is cut off. If your lights aren't paid by 5 o'clock on Wednesday, you'll be disconnected on Thursday. Someone could come in today, pay their bill with a credit card, a family member's, and then dispute it next month. But they had lights all this time. They could be moved out by next month.
I think it's the way people have figured out.
It's
how
a
to keep
catch.
They figure out how to keep their lights on.
It's a scam a little bit.
Right. So I think there needs to be a
This will take
fee.
care of all your needs. Has Tessie said grace over this?
We haven't, haven't sent it to Tessie.
Well, it won't really,
I've discussed-
it will keep it from happening with that same person in the future.
Right.
From
I
what-
think it kinda needs to be the same as the check
Everyone could do
policy.
it one time, and if
Yeah.
everybody does it in Blackstone one time, that's gonna break the town. I mean, that's, but
They
there's
could
no
move
way-
somewhere else after
Yeah.
they could pay with a stolen credit card and not dispute it for 2 months. But they will get the money back. And they could have been moved by then.
So what do you need from us, Philip?
How many people pay with credit card a month? Just on average?
Not that much.
I mean, I don't pay because. of
There's an
the
extra fee, right. Well, actually, a lot of customers pay. I'd say at least
Really?
30% of customers.
I'm surprised. I figured it'd
A
be
lot,
low.
I mean, on the first of the month, the next morning when I do the online payments, I mean, this page is full.
I figured it'd be,
I mean, 30, 40 people can be online payments.
What fee did you charge?
2.85% and a 49-cent late fee.
All right, what do you need from us?
I think we're probably not ready to advertise, but I think Tessie needs to look at it.
Okay.
And we need to, I do think Jennifer, she just made a couple notes in here that we need to insert instead of passing or drafting, I think we need to have the term credit card in there. And, so we got some work to do, but probably more informational. If you guys are okay, we'd like to advertise it. Don't think
Yeah.
we'll make it to March meeting, obviously, but maybe.
No, it's something that obviously needs to be looked into.
If y'all are okay with it, if we get Tessie's graces, can we put an advertisement in for
Yeah.
maybe
I mean, it
the
sounds like you
April
could be
meeting?
losing $2,000 a month.
And really, and there's no consequence for it, so your lights will be cut off, but you can come in and pay it, and that's it, and then you can do it again next month, and so there needs to be a fee that they need to be paying.
I'd like to hear a motion to relay this to Tessie, and then if it's approved, that we advertise for council's consideration in April. Is that it?
And these are people who are not on that, not
Oh,
on
we
that.
don't really need a motion for that.
Yeah, we do too.
These are people.
They're
that-
asking for our permission.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. You got your permission.
Telephone update, I'm gonna tell you quickly about that.
Maybe we can save that $10,000.
Well, they audited everything, and the only thing they came back with was there was a little billing discrepancy with Chantel. So, we owe them $87.50 they audited.
Didn't work in our benefit.
Yeah, I swore they were gonna find something with who, our big provider, but they said everything was structured well and.
Well, I mean, so they found discrepancies in Chantel's. What was the total amount of that?
I don't have the invoice in front of me, but their 24% is $87.50, so they only charge us based off of that, so.
For $87 to know that you're being charged correctly,
Council already approved this,
I don't think it's bad.
this
You did.
audit, didn't they?
Yes, you guys
Alright.
approved, and y'all asked to be kept
Okay.
updated on that, so
Alright.
that's all that is.
Yeah, I mean, $87 to know that we know it's being charged correctly. And
Right.
And they check the cell phone bills and both telephone providers, internet and everything, so.
I think the town council has dealt with the insurance issues
Okay.
that we needed to get an answer for, I guess, last month. There is still an issue of whether council would endorse, or this committee would endorse, increasing the pay for council members, the monthly pay. You can see Jennifer's done a spreadsheet and a little a bar graph, I think is the proper term. Town of Blackstone with a population 3621, you see what the mayor and council make, and you can see what your peers are making. If you hadn't done this before, it does need to be voted by this council in order for it to take effect with the next budget or next year, next fiscal year. This council cannot vote itself a raise, it would have to be the next.
I think it needs to be taken up. Y'all want to discuss it?
Yes.
I mean, so what's our budget? 15 million?
I think it's 16 this year.
16
because of
million.
That big construction project, so I think 13-ish, 14-ish. Jennifer will tell you exactly what it is. You took that construction.
16.
I'm not gonna call any names, but I've spoken to other members of council, and they're in favor of it. And I would rather do it now, above board, than to stick it in the budget and not say anything, any foolishness like that.
I think you do have to take a public vote on a specific item like this, I think you should.
That's fine. Look at the town of Alta Vista. Do they have the same services we do with,
None of these communities are electric
right?
communities, and I'm gonna guess most have water and sewer. I'm sure Farmville does its own streets, so I don't think we're wildly different, but we do electricity, and that's probably the one thing that none of these other communities do.
I would, to me, the best example would be, Alta Vista and South Hill, in my opinion. I mean, even though Farmville's got two, a college and a university, it's quite a bit going on there, but I mean, just looking at Alta Vista, I'm very, very familiar with Alta Vista. I used to live in Lynchburg and had clients in Alta Vista, very much like Blackstone. South Hill, we all know South Hill. No intentions, and I would say this in front of the mayor. I don't understand why the mayor would get more pay, and although he's a member, ex officio member of the committees. No offense to the mayor, but he doesn't attend
I
them.
don't know if it was general rule way back when, because
Right.
it looks as if every locality does it.
Right. I don't agree with it.
Farmville's
I don't
mayor
agree
gets
with it.
$9,000, but I guess it pays if they want to go to public engagements, go ribbon cuttings, and do all this stuff. It pays for their expenses more. I guess I don't know.
Well, I don't see the difference in it. I think I've been pleased that the 8 of us talk amongst ourselves, and it's like the mayor of Richmond just comes in and blah 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 and goes back out. I mean, the 8 of us are one body, in my opinion. So I would suggest that we do all the same. And I think I've heard the figure $3,000. Is that what do you think about that?
For both?
For all 8, yes. You like that, Mr. Moncur?
Yes.
What are your feelings on it, Mr. Nash?
The timing to me, and not anything to do with elections, the timing to me, because of just what we've been hearing with billing, is what puts me in a bind.
Well,
That's only
the thing is, the thing was the mayor would do it. The mayor doesn't think we should be compensated at all. So let the timing issue, it gets under my skin because there is no other timing. It's-
Oh yeah, it's got to be done.
These are the 2 months that you can talk about, and that's it.
If it's in the future, it still be done in front of an election.
So if you want to rail on the electric rates, you can rail on the electric rates all you want to, but this doesn't have a damn thing to do with it.
2,000.
Okay? Listen,
Make it all the
Yeah.
same, what you
He
said?
wanted to know what the
Make
difference
it all
was.
the same,
Hey.
what you said?
Would you like to see this?
look, we got a meeting going on here.
I'm asking questions.
I have the floor.
Okay, I'm good.
I have the floor. All right, so what I'm saying is the electric rates and the weather and all of that doesn't have anything to do with the window that you've got, which is 2 months out of the 48 months a council serves. So, if you want to get on your soapbox about the electric rates, that's just another way of doing it. But I don't want to talk about it. If you feel like that the position is worth more than the $1,500, or what do we get, 2,000 or 1,500, then
I mean, if you sit up here and most people notice it, to be honest, it's worth probably $15,000.
well, I mean, I think
But-
you might attract people to do it. I mean, if $15,000 would pay for Kinston, you know what? I might have to tell my family. You know what? I'm going to run for re-election again. The biggest reason I'm not running for re-election again is my daughter's asked me not to. But if it paid $15,000 a year, we might have a little argument. So,
May I say something?
just a second. So, what are your thoughts? I'm willing to move forward and recommend the council $3,000.
Straight across the board is a proper fee.
All right, Mr. Nash.
I mean,
So you talking about 8,000? What are you talking about?
the
Let's see,
$1,500, does it really mean?
$12,000 a year out of a $15 million budget is what the increase is.
Oh, I mean, it's nothing when it comes down to it. That's why, is it worth
Yes.
anything? Is $1,500 worth anybody up here?
Well, what are you saying? You want to go more than that?
Not to me. I could care. I mean, if you stay at 1,500, or if everyone was at 2,000, even with the mayor. I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
Well, you're running for re-election. I'm not. So I move that we recommend the council of raising council and mayor salary to $3,000 annually. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, 2-1. We go to council with 3. Yes, sir.
Too late now, you passed
No,
it.
it's not.
Okay.
What's
Not
up?
fast, no.
All right, what do you recommend it? I was thinking that, make them all the same.
That's what we just did.
But I said you made it.
That's what we
But
just did.
the mayor, you guys do most of the work anyway. You think about it, the gas, that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, in the 8 years I've been sitting up here, it's been a team. It's not been, the city of Richmond does
Well, I
it
know he
entirely
does a lot,
different.
but, yeah, but I mean, it's,
Well, I'm sort of a fan of the way other municipalities do it. And Richmond is completely opposite. He just comes in for the meetings and says his piece and he leaves. I mean, so we're a team of 8, and I've always said that. So, all right. I don't mind carrying. I'll carry the banner for this. Okay.
And the, I'm actually, well, it says Town of Farmville offers insurance for, I'm just.
I would rather
putting that
not
out there.
touch insurance with a
No, I'm
10-foot
not.
pole.
I'm just showing, just so everybody would know that only one locality that we selected out of the ones we compared, only one of them, which is surprising.
Well, I think those that are out there that have never sat up here, if you ever sit up here, you'll say it's $3,000 is ridiculous for the amount of work we do.
Oh, I told you it's worth 15 grand.
Well,
That's
but
what you
Did we
hear.
not indicate to council last meeting that we were not really looking too hard at the insurance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we pretty much made that clear with Jennifer when
All
she
right.
presented the.
what's your next item, sir?
Next item up for bid, Christmas decorations. I think Zach is here if you guys want to have some DBI output. I don't know if he's, or input, I don't know if he's prepared to do so. I assume that would be inserting something in the budget this year, under council's discretionary or wherever you decide to put it. I'm not sure what the decorations that are being proposed are, but if you guys would like to change.
I had mentioned it to the mayor, and I think he had an idea, and then I had a different idea. I would love, and DBI would be a great help, since it's all in their area, getting Main Street lined with lights on the top. And I feel certain that us up here would allow our electric service, and I think we should pay for the power that goes to those lights.
What do you mean by lined? I mean,
You put
anything
the-
is cool. I mean, more
Put the
better.
big bulbs that line
What you talking about, Willis?
the tops of the building,
On the top of the
on the
building.
top, very top.
On top of privately owned buildings.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I hate to have to engage an attorney for $300 an hour, but that gives me indigestion about that. In today's society,
Oh,
man.
yeah. That's why Mayor said we need to obviously
We need to check
talk
with
about it instead
VML,
of-
and we need to check with Tessie. I mean, so if you have a bulb that shorts and burns a building down, what's our liability?
Correct.
So, I mean, I love the idea.
Yeah.
I just have,
The only building in town that's had those lights, and I believe they're all burnt out now, but the old Curry Record building, Acapulco's and the law firm, they have the big lights above their building.
Right.
And it could be that maybe Zach can talk with them, and most people would do it themselves. I don't know. And then it wouldn't have to be a town liability issue.
Zach, you interested in taking that up?
I've kind of indifferent, I don't mind Eric's proposal and I don't mind the reeds on the light posts. The only thing that I would worry about would be if you have one building,
That doesn't do.
business or property owner, or maybe two in a row that don't want to take part, it looks a bit ridiculous. at
Yeah.
that point. And, I
When
think
is-
there's a lot of logistics.
When does your board meet again?
April 12th.
Okay.
That's why I would hope
That's,
that the business owners downtown would see the good, and, it would make downtown
I think
stand
it would
out.
definitely help the side street business owners.
Correct.
Because those are the ones that are pretty vocal about the left out
Oh, yeah.
decoration.
You want to take it to your committee and then your board and report to us in the April meeting? We'll still have time to budget by then. Does that sound
Yeah.
agreeable to you?
And then the only other thing with Christmas decorations was mentioned, lighting Swartz Tavern. I don't know, that's not a big issue, I don't believe. It's-
Well, I just think we need to budget it.
In terms of the lights though, would that be something the town is purchasing or DVI would have to purchase the lights?
No,
I don't think we're gonna put a monetary load on you.
No,
Okay.
I think that would be we're bringing it to you.
While we're speaking of it, this council raise is gonna come out of the manager's salary, right? Just kidding. All right.
Y'all wouldn't get very much.
All right, no, I think we'll appropriate the funds, we just want your expertise of managing it.
Does the Tavern Authority meet on a regular basis by any means?
No, they do not. I think it's very.
I would hate to say we want to
As
light
needed,
Swartz
I think.
Tavern. Well, can we shoot it to them and say, hey, what do you think about lighting the tavern?
I'd much rather, if you take it up, maybe you could give us some ideas.
I'd rather go to them with an idea.
I mean, I know Zach's got a full plate, but he is He is full-time and,
Yeah.
you know, so if you don't mind looking into that. I think with the traffic we get with the trains, was it 40,000 people?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's an investment that the town, our
yeah.
constituents
I agree.
would embrace. So, if you can give us some budget figures, what you think it would cost to do that area right?
And it could be that instead of just spotlighting Swartz Tavern, it could be that you just accent it with low voltage lights. I mean,
Well, there's some people around here that can really help you with that know what they're doing and keep it within the period and that type of stuff.
I
Okay?
think you'll get a much more reasonable project doing it this way than
yeah.
just feeding it over and saying, what do you think we ought to do?
All right.
Then we may need to table the rest if we wanna go.
Well, let's see if Philip's got anything that's,
What's the energy share program? We received that email from Sharon Harrop.
Mm-hmm.
What is,
She's supposed to be getting some information for me.
that doesn't have to do with budget billing, does it? Or,
No, do you remember during the council meeting, a lady brought up she'd be interested in energy share?
Double booked, I gotta open
Where
it real quick.
consumers
where
actually
consumers
pay
can
into
pay
it.
into it, and
Right,
then if
and
someone
so-
needs it, they
Yes.
take a portion.
So steps, that lady is giving me a packet of information and said she'd be willing
Okay,
to
for some
come sit
reason I was
down
thinking
with us.
budget plan issues.
So we
Gotcha.
may be, need to just have another meeting and we'll talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
all that.
Yeah, 'cause that's-
And let her come and explain their energy share program. You wanna do that?
so what do you need to do?
We need at 3 o'clock, we have a bid opening very briefly. We double booked ourselves.
Okay.
Jennifer double booked me.
Do we need to get out of here, or what do you need to do?
No, sit tight. We're gonna open up grass cutting bids real quick.
So you just gonna do it while we're in session, or do you want me to
Don't
adjourn?
open that one first.
I will adjourn for a moment.
All right. Well, we'll recess.
Recess.
All right, so
She can turn everything off.
committee's in recess at 3:02.